I never thought I'd be the type of woman to sell a house from under my husband's feet. But then again, I never thought I'd become a stranger in my own home either. Funny how life works out sometimes. My name is Gwendolyn, and this is the story of how I lost everything to gain myself back. It started 3 months ago when Rocky's family showed up on our doorstep with their belongings stuffed into garbage bags. I was in the middle of a work call when the doorbell rang. There they stood, Alyssa clutching her designer purse, Ernest avoiding eye contact, and Griffin smirking like this was all some cosmic joke. "We've been evicted," Alyssa announced, chin held high as if she were announcing a promotion. "Rocky said we could stay here until we sort things out." I muted my call. "He what?" "Oh." Alyssa's perfectly plucked eyebrows arched. "He didn't tell you?" That night, Rocky and I had our first real fight in 2 years of marriage. "They're my family," he pleaded, those warm brown eyes that once made me weak, now making me wary. "It'll just be for a little while, a month, tops." I should have known better. I really should have. The first week wasn't terrible. I worked from home 3 days a week, so I watched as they settled in. Alyssa commandeered the guest room. Ernest and Griffin took over the basement. And slowly, surely, their possessions began to spread like an infection throughout my carefully curated home. "Honey," Alyssa called out one afternoon while I was preparing lunch, "your kitchen organization is so interesting. Mind if I rearrange things? Make it more functional?" Before I could respond, she was already emptying my cabinets. I watched as she relegated my grandmother's china to the highest shelf, replacing it with her own mismatched plates. "There," she said, dusting her hands. "Much better. You'll thank me later." Griffin treated the house like his personal hotel. Empty beer cans littered the coffee table, pizza boxes stacked in corners. When I asked him to clean up, he'd laugh. "Relax, sis. You're too uptight." I wasn't his sister. I wasn't anything to them except an inconvenience with a mortgage. 2 weeks in, I came home to find Alyssa had redecorated the living room. My modern minimalist aesthetic was buried under floral throws and tacky figurines. "Just brightening things up," she said, not looking up from her phone. "This place was so cold before." Rocky, when he was home, seemed to shrink into himself. He'd kiss me quickly, avoid my eyes, and find reasons to stay late at work. The few times I tried to discuss the situation, he'd deflect. "They're trying their best," he'd say. "Mom's looking for work. Dad's got some leads." But I never saw them looking at job listings. Instead, Alyssa spent her days watching reality TV at full volume while I tried to work. Ernest wandered the house like a ghost, and Griffin treated my car like his personal Uber service. The breaking point came exactly 1 month in. I was hosting a virtual meeting with my team when Alyssa barged into my office, my sacred space, without knocking. "We need to talk about the grocery situation," she announced, loud enough to be heard by everyone on my call. I muted myself. "I'm in a meeting." "This is important. We're out of organic almond milk, and Griffin needs his protein powder. Also, the cleaning service you use is subpar. I found a better one. Bit more expensive, but—" "I'm in a meeting," I repeated, feeling something crack inside me. She waved dismissively. "We should just change the deed. You barely live here anyway, dear." The words hung in the air like poison. I forced a smile, but something shifted inside me. Something cold and calculating woke up. That night, I lay beside Rocky, listening to his steady breathing. Downstairs, I could hear Griffin's video games, Alyssa's shrill laugh at some late-night show. This house, my sanctuary, had become a prison. "Rocky," I whispered, knowing he was awake. "Are they really looking for their own place?" He rolled over, away from me. "They just need time." Time. That's what everyone needed, apparently. Everyone except me. I got up quietly and went to my office. Opening my laptop, I typed a quick email to my friend Selena, a real estate agent. "Need to discuss something important. Can we meet tomorrow?" Her response came quickly. "Of course. Everything okay?" I looked around my office, the only space still truly mine, and thought about Alyssa's comment about the deed, about Rocky's silence, about the slow, steady erosion of my peace. No, I typed back, but it will be. The next morning I found Alyssa in my bathroom, hogging the mirror as she applied her makeup. My makeup, actually, the expensive kind I saved for special occasions. "Oh good, you're up," she said, not moving an inch. "The hot water's been running a bit cold. You should call someone about that." I stood in the doorway, toothbrush in hand. "I need to get ready for work." "Just 5 more minutes, dear." She started curling her hair. "You know, at my age, it takes a bit more effort to look presentable. Not that you'd understand yet." 40 minutes later, I finally got into my own bathroom. The counter was littered with open containers, and my favorite lipstick was nowhere to be found. At work, I met Selena for coffee. She took one look at my face and said, "Spill." "They're taking over," I said, stirring my untouched latte. "It's like I'm living in their house now, not the other way around." "Have they contributed anything? Rent? Utilities?" I laughed bitterly. "Alyssa said they're between situations right now, whatever that means." "And Rocky?" "Keeps saying it's temporary, but yesterday—" I hesitated. "Yesterday Griffin took my car without asking. When I brought it up, Rocky said I was being selfish. Selfish. In my own home." Selena leaned forward. "Girl, you need to set boundaries. Or better yet, get them out." "How? They're family." "No." Selena's eyes narrowed. "They're parasites. And I can help you with that if you're ready." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Rocky. "Mom's making dinner tonight. Don't worry about cooking." I returned home to find my kitchen in chaos. Pots and pans everywhere, flour dusting every surface, and the distinct smell of something burning. "Oh, there you are," Alyssa called out. "We needed a few things, so I used your credit card. Hope you don't mind. Rocky said it was fine." My credit card. The one I kept in my dresser drawer. "You went through my things?" "Don't be dramatic," she waved dismissively. "We're family. Now be a dear and set the table. Use the nice plates, the ones I reorganized." During dinner, Griffin burped loudly and dropped his fork. "Sis, get me another one?" "I'm not your sister," I said quietly. The table fell silent. Rocky cleared his throat. "Gwen." "No." I stood up. "I'm not your sister. I'm not your maid. And I'm not your ATM." "See?" Alyssa turned to Rocky. "This is what I was telling you about. So ungrateful. After we've tried so hard to make this house a real home." I left the table and locked myself in my office, hands shaking as I texted Selena. "What did you mean by help?" Later that night, I overheard Alyssa and Rocky in the kitchen. I stood in the shadows, listening. "She thinks this is her house," Alyssa's voice dripped with disdain. "Ha! She pays the mortgage, but we own him." Rocky's response was too quiet to hear, but his silence said everything. I backed away before they could notice me, bumping into Ernest in the hallway. For a moment, our eyes met. He opened his mouth as if to say something, then looked away and shuffled past. The next morning, I found a note on my car. "Borrowed it again. Be back later. Griffin." I called an Uber to work, using the ride to compose myself. My colleague Taya noticed something was off. "You okay?" she asked during lunch. "You seem different lately." "Just family stuff," I said vaguely. "Family can be tough," she nodded. "My cousin stayed with me once, took months to get rid of her, had to get creative." Creative. The word stuck with me. That evening, I came home to find Alyssa had invited her book club over. 8 women I'd never met were scattered across my living room, drinking my wine, eating my food. "Oh, Gwendolyn," Alyssa called out. "Come meet everyone. We were just discussing making this a weekly thing. Your house is perfect for hosting." I smiled. Not the forced smile I'd been wearing for months. A different smile. A dangerous one. "Actually," I said, "I need to make a call. Business stuff. You understand?" In my office, I pulled up Selena's number. My hands weren't shaking anymore. "Is the offer from that investor still on the table?" I whispered. "The cash buyer?" "Yeah, they're still interested." "Why?" I looked at the family photo on my desk. Rocky and me on our wedding day, before everything changed, before I became a stranger in my own home. "Because," I said, "it's time to get creative." Sunday morning. Family breakfast. The tension in the air was thick enough to spread on toast. I'd spent the week watching my bank account drain faster than usual. Shopping trips I never approved, restaurant deliveries I never ordered, and a mysterious charge for a golf membership, courtesy of Griffin, no doubt. "I think," I said, cutting through the sound of clinking silverware, "we need to talk about finances." Alyssa paused mid-bite. "Oh? It's been 2 months. The utilities have tripled. The grocery bill is astronomical. And none of you have contributed anything." Rocky shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Griffin snorted into his orange juice. "Well," Alyssa set down her fork with practiced precision, "we're family. Family helps family. When Rocky was growing up—" "I'm not talking about Rocky's childhood," I interrupted. "I'm talking about now, about jobs, about responsibility." Ernest suddenly became very interested in his coffee cup. Rocky started to say something, but Alyssa cut him off with a laugh that could freeze hell. "You're just the ATM here, dear. Your opinion doesn't really matter." The words hit like a slap. Rocky stared at his plate. Griffin smirked. Ernest's coffee cup shook slightly. I stood up slowly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Excuse me?" "Oh, don't be so sensitive," Alyssa waved her hand. "We all know our roles here. You make the money, we make this house a home. Speaking of which, I've been thinking about remodeling the kitchen. Those countertops are so dated." My voice came out eerily calm. "You want to remodel my kitchen?" "Our kitchen," she corrected. "Rocky, tell her about the contractor I found." Rocky cleared his throat. "Mom has some great ideas, honey, and since you're always at work anyway—" I walked out of the room before I could say something I'd regret. Or maybe something I wouldn't regret enough. In my office, I called Selena. "They want to remodel my kitchen," I whispered, afraid they might hear. "They called me an ATM." "Jesus," Selena breathed. "And Rocky?" "Sided with them. Again." "The investor I mentioned? They can close in 2 weeks. Cash deal. No questions asked." I closed my eyes, remembering the day I bought this house. Before Rocky, before any of this. I'd been so proud, so independent. "Send me the paperwork." That afternoon, I drove to my bank and opened a new account. As I transferred most of my savings, the teller gave me a concerned look. "Everything okay, ma'am?" "Just being careful," I smiled. "Family, you know?" When I got home, Alyssa was showing a contractor around my kitchen. My kitchen. The one I'd saved for years to renovate myself. "Oh, good, you're back," she beamed. "We're thinking marble countertops. Nothing but the best for our family, right?" I nodded, watching as she gestured grandly around my space, making plans for my money. Rocky appeared behind her, looking pleased. "Mom's really got an eye for design," he said proudly. "She sure does," I replied. "Always knows exactly what she wants." That night, I lay awake listening to the house breathe. Griffin's video games downstairs, Ernest's snoring from the basement, Alyssa's late-night phone conversations about her renovation plans. My phone buzzed. A text from Taya. "Weird question. Isn't your brother-in-law Griffin? Saw him on a dating app saying he's temporarily crashing with friends while saving for his own place. Thought you should know." I got up and went to my office, pulling out the paperwork Selena had emailed. The investor's offer was more than fair. All cash, quick close, no contingencies. My phone buzzed again. Alyssa had added me to a group chat. Kitchen renovation dreams. I muted the chat and started filling out the forms. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. As I signed my name on page after page, I thought about Alyssa's words at breakfast. Just the ATM. Well, this ATM was about to go permanently out of service. I worked through the night, scanning and sending documents to Selena. At dawn, I heard Alyssa in the kitchen, probably planning more changes to my home. "Morning, dear," she called out as I passed. "I've been thinking about the living room next. That modern art of yours is so cold." I smiled. "You're right, Alyssa. Changes are definitely coming." She beamed, missing the edge in my voice. "I knew you'd see things our way eventually." I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Rocky was coming down the stairs. "Where are you going so early?" he asked. "Just running some errands," I said. "Don't worry about it." As I pulled out of the driveway, I saw Alyssa in the window, already measuring for new curtains. 2 weeks, I thought. Just 2 more weeks. Then we'd all learn exactly whose house this was. The for sale sign lay flat in my trunk, covered by a blanket. Selena helped me plant it in the backyard at midnight, angled so it couldn't be seen from the house. "The buyers want to see it tomorrow," she whispered. "Can you get everyone out?" "Leave that to me." At breakfast, I announced, "I'm treating everyone to the new water park tomorrow. My company gave me passes." "Oh, how generous," Alyssa said, eyeing me suspiciously. "But I have my hair appointment." "And I've got plans," Griffin added, not looking up from his phone. "Perfect." While they were out, the buyers walked through my house. They loved it. No contingencies, no inspection needed. Just like Selena promised. "We can close in 10 days, the husband said. I signed the papers in my car, parked 2 blocks away. My hands didn't shake at all. That evening, I started phase 2. I rented a storage unit and began moving things out piece by piece. Small things at first. Photo albums, important documents, my grandmother's jewelry. "Spring cleaning?" Rocky asked, noticing some empty spaces. "Just decluttering," I smiled. "Your mother's right. We need to make some changes." He beamed, kissing my cheek. "I'm so glad you're finally coming around." At work, Taya stopped by my desk. "Hey, about that dating app thing." "What about it?" "Griffin's profile. It says he's been staying with friends for 6 months. But hasn't he been living with you?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Tell me more." She pulled up the profile on her phone. There he was, my brother-in-law, claiming he was between places and staying with buddies while his investment property finalizes. Investment property. With my money, no doubt. That night, I made a show of packing a weekend bag. "Girls' spa weekend," I announced. "I need some me time." "But what about the kitchen samples?" Alyssa protested. "The contractor's coming Monday." "You handle it," I said sweetly. "You have such good taste." I checked into a hotel 10 minutes away and waited. Selena's text came at midnight. "Deal closed, money wired." I ordered champagne from room service and watched the city lights blur through my tears. Not sad tears, relief tears, freedom tears. The next week was a dance of deception. I hired movers to come during the day, telling Alyssa they were delivering new furniture. Instead, they quietly packed my remaining belongings into unmarked trucks. "Where's that painting going?" Rocky asked one afternoon, catching a glimpse of wrapped canvas. "Being reframed," I lied smoothly. "Surprise for your mother." He hugged me. "You're amazing, you know that?" I let him hold me, remembering when his embrace felt like home. Now it felt like handcuffs. Griffin caught me boxing up kitchen items. "What's with all the packing?" he asked, suspicious. "Just organizing," I said. "By the way, how's that investment property coming along?" He paled slightly but recovered quickly. "What investment property?" "Oh, my mistake. Must be thinking of someone else's dating profile." He left the room quickly after that. The final piece fell into place when Alyssa announced a family dinner at her favorite restaurant. "To celebrate our new kitchen plans," she declared. Gwendolyn's treating, of course. I watched them pile into their cars, heading to the restaurant where they'd find no reservation and a maxed-out credit card. By then, I'd be gone. The new owners arrived with their moving truck as my family's taillights disappeared around the corner. Right on schedule. "Keys?" the husband asked. I handed them over, along with a detailed list of my in-laws' belongings. "Everything not on this list is yours to keep or dispose of." "And the people living here?" "They'll be gone tonight," I assured him. "One way or another." I helped the movers pack up what remained of the Dean family's possessions, placing everything in garbage bags on the curb, just like how they'd arrived 3 months ago. My phone buzzed. "Rocky. There's no reservation. Mom's furious. What's going on?" I didn't reply. Instead, I sent one final text to Selena. "It's done." Standing in the driveway, I watched the new owners change the locks. My heels clicked against the pavement as I walked to my waiting Uber. Behind me, I heard cars approaching, my family returning from their failed dinner. I didn't turn around. Let them find the new owners. Let them find their belongings on the curb. Let them finally understand what it feels like to be unwelcome in a place you thought was home. The Uber driver glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Rough night?" I smiled, watching my old life disappear in the side mirror. "No. Perfect night." My phone kept buzzing. I turned it off. The ATM was closed for business. The day before everything ended, I decided to host one final dinner. A last supper, if you will. I wanted to remember every detail, every smug smile, every casual insult. I wanted to burn it all into my memory to remind myself why I had to do this. I cooked all day. Pot roast, Alyssa's favorite. She hovered in the kitchen, criticizing my technique. "The meat's too tough," she said, poking at it. "I would have done it differently." "I'm sure you would have," I smiled, thinking of the signed papers hidden in my purse. Griffin sprawled on the couch, feet up on my coffee table. "Hey, sis, beer me." I brought him one, watching him add another ring stain to the wood. It didn't matter anymore. None of it did. "We should talk about the backyard," Alyssa announced during dinner. "Those flower beds are an eyesore. I'm thinking we could tear them out, put in a koi pond." "Sounds expensive," I said, sipping my wine. "Well, you work so hard." She smiled that serpentine smile. "You deserve nice things. We all do." Rocky beamed. "Mom's got great vision, and since you're never home anyway." I watched him choose his mother over me for the 1,000th time. The last time. "Speaking of home improvements," Ernest spoke up, rare for him, "we should host a family cookout next weekend. Show everyone what we've done with the place." "Wonderful idea," Alyssa clapped. "We can invite my whole book club." "Gwendolyn, dear, you'll handle the catering?" I nodded, wondering what they'd be doing next weekend when reality crashed down around them. After dinner, I went upstairs to pack away the last personal items. Our wedding photo caught my eye. Rocky and me, young and stupidly in love. I wrapped it carefully in tissue paper and placed it in a box marked "Donations." "What are you doing?" I turned to find Rocky in the doorway. "Just organizing," I said, the lie smooth as silk on my tongue. "Your mother's right. Time for changes." He hugged me from behind. "I knew you'd come around. Mom says you've been so much more agreeable lately." I let him hold me, remembering when his touch felt like safety instead of chains. Downstairs, Griffin was on his phone laughing. "This place is practically ours now," he called out to no one in particular. I raised my glass. "Let's make this a weekend to remember." Later that night, I found Ernest alone in the kitchen. "You're different," he said quietly. "Calmer." "Am I?" He studied me. "Whatever you're planning, just remember, actions have consequences." "I know," I said. "I've been living with the consequences of other people's actions for months." He nodded slowly, understanding in his eyes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. In bed, Rocky snored beside me while I made my final preparations. Text to Selena. "Everything ready for tomorrow?" Her reply came quickly. "Movers confirmed for 2 p.m. New owners arriving at 3. You sure about this?" I looked at Rocky, remembering our first date. Our wedding. The life I thought we'd have. Then I remembered his silence, his cowardice, his choices. Yes, I typed back. I'm sure. Morning came too quickly. I made breakfast one last time, watching them eat, listening to their plans for my house. Their house, as they saw it. The contractor's coming Monday, Alyssa reminded me. We'll need your credit card again. Of course, I smiled. Anything for family. I left for work early, my real destination the hotel where I'd watch it all unfold. As I backed out of the driveway, Rocky waved from the porch. Love you, he called out. I waved back, wondering if he'd ever loved me more than he feared his mother. At noon, my phone exploded with notifications. They'd returned early from their errands to find strangers in their house. My house, not their house anymore. Alyssa, what have you done? Griffin, WTF is happening? Rocky, baby, please answer your phone. Ernest, I understand. I turned off my phone and ordered room service. By now, they'd be standing on the curb with their belongings in garbage bags, just like they'd arrived. By now, they'd be realizing that the ATM had not just closed, it had disappeared entirely. I took out the manila envelope containing the divorce papers and hotel voucher for Rocky. One night only, just enough time to realize what he'd lost. Actions have consequences, I whispered to my reflection in the hotel window. Outside, storm clouds gathered. Perfect weather for a family emergency. I watched it unfold through the security cameras I'd installed last week. Money well spent. 2:15 p.m. The movers arrived, efficient and professional. They started replacing furniture with the new owner's belongings just as planned. 2:45 p.m. Rocky's car pulled into the driveway. Early. Of course they came home early. Alyssa probably wanted to supervise the contractor she'd scheduled without my knowledge. The camera caught their expressions perfectly as they stepped out of their cars. Confusion, disbelief, rage. What is the meaning of this? Alyssa's voice came through crystal clear on the audio feed. Who are you people? The head mover handed her my prepared letter. I watched her manicured hands shake as she opened it. No, she whispered. Then louder. No! Rocky grabbed the paper. This has to be a mistake. This is our house. The new owner, right on time, stepped out of his car. Actually, it's my house now. I have the deed right here. Griffin tried to push past him. Like hell it is. Where's Gwendolyn? Mrs. Foster left these for you, the mover said, pointing to the neat piles of garbage bags on the curb. And this envelope for Mr. Dean. I zoomed in on Rocky's face as he opened the manila envelope. Divorce papers, hotel voucher, a single note. You chose your side, now live with it. She can't do this, Alyssa shrieked. Rocky, call the police. The new owner held up his paperwork. I have everything in order. This is a legal sale. You're trespassing now. Ernest stood silently by the curb, staring at their belongings in garbage bags. The same way they'd arrived 3 months ago. Poetry in motion. My things, Alyssa wailed. My antiques, my family heirlooms. All itemized in there, I whispered to my hotel room TV screen, watching the feed. Every tacky figurine accounted for. Griffin kicked one of the bags. This is bullshit. She's just the ATM, remember? She can't do this to us. Former ATM, I texted to his phone. Service permanently discontinued. Rocky tried calling me again. And again. And again. I let each one go to voicemail, imagining the desperation in his voice growing with each attempt. The new owner was losing patience. You have 30 minutes to collect your belongings before I call the authorities. But my kitchen renovation. Alyssa grabbed Rocky's arm. The contractor is coming Monday. Tell him, Rocky. Tell him this is our house. Mom, Rocky's voice cracked. Mom, please, let's get our stuff. Rain started to fall as they scrambled to gather their bags. Alyssa kept screaming about lawyers, about rights, about ingratitude. Griffin punched the mailbox, then howled in pain. Ernest just quietly loaded bags into their cars. My phone buzzed with a text from Selena. Watching from across the street. This is better than Netflix. This isn't over, Alyssa screamed at the house. Do you hear me, Gwendolyn? This isn't over. But it was. The new owner closed the door and changed the locks. I watched through the cameras as they drove away. Cars loaded with garbage bags, their temporary kingdom crumbling behind them. I switched off the feed and finally checked my voicemails. Rocky. Baby, please, we can talk about this. Alyssa. You ungrateful little. Griffin. You're going to regret this, sis. Ernest. I understand. Goodbye. A knock at my hotel room door made me jump. It was Selena, holding a bottle of champagne. That, she said, stepping inside, was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Did Alyssa really try to hit the new owner with her purse? Girl, yes. And when Griffin realized his gaming console was in one of those bags, priceless. We poured the champagne and watched the storm through the floor-to-ceiling windows. My phone kept buzzing with threats, pleas, and promises. Rocky's at the hotel, I said, checking the front desk camera feed on my laptop. The one where I left him the voucher. Are you going to talk to him? I thought about all the times he could have talked to me, all the times he chose silence over support. No, I said, turning off my phone. I've said everything I need to say. Selena raised her glass. To karma. To consequences, I replied. Below, through the rain-streaked windows, I could see the city lights blurring. Somewhere out there, a family was learning that actions have consequences, that ATMs can fight back, that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. And somewhere, in a brand new house, a happy family was moving in, making it their home, their real home. The high of revenge wore off around midnight. Selena had left, and I stood alone in my hotel suite, staring at the city lights through rain-streaked windows. My phone buzzed again. Taya. You need to know something, her text read. About Rocky. Can I come up? 5 minutes later, she was at my door, looking nervous. I didn't want to say anything before, she started, pacing the room. But now that you've done this, you should know you did the right thing. What do you mean? She pulled out her phone, showing me a series of photos. Rocky at a bar. Rocky with his arm around a blonde. Rocky kissing her. My cousin works at that bar, Taya said softly. He's been seeing her for months, always when you were working late. The champagne turned sour in my stomach. How long? Since before his family moved in. I sat heavily on the edge of the bed, memories flooding back. The late nights at work, the way he avoided my eyes, the constant defense of his family. He wasn't just weak, I whispered. He was a coward in every way possible. Taya sat beside me. I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner. No, I shook my head. I needed to do what I did for the right reasons, not out of anger or jealousy, for me. After she left, I found myself opening my laptop, clicking through old photos. Rocky and me at the beach, Rocky helping me paint the house, Rocky down on one knee, promising forever. Liar, I whispered to his smiling face. A new email popped up, from Ernest. I'm at the shelter on 5th Street. Alyssa and Griffin went to her sister's, but they wouldn't take me. Rocky's... Well, I don't know where Rocky is. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Not for what you did, but for what we did to make you do it. I closed the laptop without replying. Sleep wouldn't come. I ordered room service at 3 a.m., pancakes I couldn't eat. The waiter gave me a sympathetic look. Bad breakup? Bad everything, I replied. Dawn found me in the hotel gym, running nowhere on a treadmill, trying to outpace my thoughts. My phone kept lighting up with messages. Alyssa, you've ruined everything. I hope you're happy. Griffin, where's my gaming stuff? I had saves on that console. Rocky, please, I love you. We can fix this. I deleted them all without reading further. My boss Nicole called around noon. Take the week off, she said. You've got the vacation days. I need to work, I protested. No, you need to process. Trust me. I've been there. You have? She laughed. 3 years ago. Caught my husband with his secretary. Classic, right? Sold his beloved boat while he was at work. Best therapy ever. I found myself smiling. Did it help? The boat money paid for actual therapy, which helped more. Speaking of which, she texted me a number. Dr. Sarah Martinez, family therapist. I stared at the number for a long time before saving it. Selena brought lunch. Real food, not hotel fare. She found me surrounded by scattered photos and old cards. What are you doing? Trying to figure out when it all went wrong, I said, when he stopped being my husband and started being their son again. She gathered up the photos. Stop. This isn't helping. But, no buts, get dressed. We're going out. She took me to a luxury apartment complex across town. Modern, secure, with a doorman and a view of the park. They have short-term leases, she said. 3 months minimum, long enough to figure out your next move. The apartment was small but pristine. No floral throws, no beer stains, no echoes of false family. It's expensive, I hesitated. You just sold a house. You can afford it. I signed the lease that afternoon. As we carried in my suitcases, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, the blonde from the photos. He's been lying to me too. Said he was separated. Just found out about you. I'm sorry. I blocked the number without replying. That night in my new apartment, I opened my laptop to delete more photos. Instead, I found myself typing, Dear Rocky, I thought about writing a long letter, explaining everything. About how you betrayed me twice. Once with her, once with them. About how you watched me disappear in my own home and did nothing. About how you chose everyone else over me, every single time. But you don't deserve my words anymore. Goodbye. I deleted his number instead of sending it. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, for the first time in months, there was only silence. My silence. My space. My choice. I slept dreamlessly that night, alone in my new beginning. The postcard arrived on a sunny Tuesday. No return address, just Ernest's shaky handwriting. Thank you for doing what Rocky never could. You set us all free in a way, even if some of us don't see it yet. E. I pinned it to my new bulletin board right next to my therapy appointment card and the lease for my recording studio. Ready? Selena asked, adjusting the microphone. We're live in 5. I settled into my chair, facing the professional recording equipment. The red light blinked on. Welcome to Boundaries and Backbone, where we talk about taking back your life, one story at a time. I'm your host, Gwendolyn. The podcast had started as therapy homework. Share your story, Dr. Martinez had suggested. Now it was gaining traction with women calling in to share their own experiences of finding their voice. Today's topic, when family isn't family anymore. The calls started flowing. My mother-in-law moved in temporarily 2 years ago. My husband always takes his sister's side. They're draining my accounts but call me selfish when I object. I answered each one, sharing pieces of my own story. Not for revenge anymore, but for healing. For helping. During the break, Taya texted, Rocky's mom is living with his sister now. Apparently, she's redecorating their house too. I smiled, imagining Alyssa's sister dealing with her improvements. The studio door opened. Nicole stepped in, holding coffee. Your numbers are amazing, she said. The network wants to syndicate. Really? Really? You're helping people, Gwen. Who knew selling a house could start a movement? After the show, I checked my mail. Divorce papers signed by Rocky. No contest, no claims, no drama, just his signature and a single line. I'm sorry I was a coward. Too little, too late. My phone rang. Griffin's number. I almost declined, but curiosity won. What? I got a job. he said quietly. A real one. And my own place. Good for you. Look, I was awful to you. Entitled and lazy, and you were right to do what you did. I let the silence stretch. That's all I wanted to say. He finished. And thanks for the wake-up call. I hung up without responding. Some bridges stay burned. Back at my apartment, I found a package. Inside was my grandmother's china, the set Alyssa had relegated to the highest shelf. A note from the new homeowners. Found this hidden away. Seemed important. I traced the delicate patterns, remembering quiet Sunday dinners before the invasion, before the loss, before the victory. My doorman called up. Ms. Foster, there's an Ernest here to see you. I considered saying no. But something in me had softened. Not enough to forgive, but enough to listen. He stood awkwardly in my living room, looking older, smaller. I'm in therapy, he said without preamble. Learning to speak up, stand up. Better late than never. Alyssa and we're separated. She can't understand why. Keeps saying you destroyed our family. He smiled sadly. But we destroyed ourselves long ago. Used Rocky as a shield. Used you as a bank. I poured us both coffee in my grandmother's cups. Why are you here, Ernest? To show you something. He pulled out his phone, showing me a small apartment. My own place. First time in 40 years I'm living for myself. I'm glad for you. Rocky's living with his mother again, he added. Some patterns never break unless you break them yourself. After he left, I recorded a bonus episode for my podcast. The words flowed easily now. Sometimes the strongest boundaries are the ones we build after everything falls apart. Sometimes the greatest love we can show ourselves is walking away. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. My phone lit up with messages from listeners. Women sharing their stories. Women finding their strength. Women breaking their own patterns. I opened my balcony doors, letting in the evening air. Below, the city pulsed with life and possibility. My new home. My new story. The china gleamed in its cabinet, not hidden away, but proudly displayed. Not a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained. Strength, peace, self-respect. And remember, ladies, I spoke into my recorder, preparing tomorrow's outro. If you're just the ATM, cancel the card and change the PIN, but most importantly, invest in yourself. I hit stop, smiling at my reflection in the window. No more forced smiles, no more silent rage. Just me, my voice, and a future I'd built from the ashes of a house that was never really a home.